Hey, don't ignore me. It's been a while, isn't it? I can't believe you're still alive in this era, with an annual income of $10,000. Just working at a burger shop doesn't make ends meet, right?
She left me, thinking I was a low-income, low-educated man. I don't remember ever saying I had an annual income of $10,000. If I were to think of $10,000, it might be about the rent. Is this what a cultural festival like? I asked, and she concluded that I had only finished high school. My name is Chester, 50 years old. I work part-time at my brother's burger shop on weekdays. I had lived alone for a long time, so I could cook in general, and my brother always called me when his competent staff took days off. The rest of the time, I was either poking around on my computer or enjoying keyboard practice. My occasional pleasure was the irregularly held live concerts. It's been 3 years since I participated in a member recruitment at a nearby music store. Surprisingly, the band's first live performance was at my wedding. It was a fun time when I was engrossed in practicing for the band rather than preparing for the wedding. If I had been attending college, I thought I would have enjoyed practicing for the cultural festival in a similar way. One day, when I finished a live concert and was drinking with my folks on my way home, I heard a familiar voice. When I turned to the direction of the voice, my ex-wife, Catherine, and a man were walking arm in arm. I prayed to God not to notice me, but Catherine came towards me. I had known Catherine for about 5 years, and we started dating casually and got married 2 years later, only to get divorced.
Chester, you haven't gone to the guitar pawn shop yet.
I cursed my destiny more than ever at that moment. I pretended not to know her.
Don't ignore me. It's been a while, isn't it? I can't believe you're still alive in this era, with an annual income of $10,000. Just working at a burger shop doesn't make ends meet, right?
I was a little tipsy, and Catherine's words reached my ears, but I couldn't understand the meaning at all. What's that supposed to mean?
Your annual income. I was just talking about it.
Did I ever mention anything about my annual income? To be honest, expressing my income through my job was difficult. It was because it had fluctuated greatly from year to year.
After all, you just help your brother's burger shop occasionally, right? You mean, you don't even have an annual income of $10,000. Oh, who are you? I'm sorry.
The man next to her chuckled.
You're so old and have long red hair. Is rock and roll still the best?
Furthermore, the man next to her burst into laughter and spoke out. I had a live concert. I dyed my hair for today.
That old man's band, right? By the way, what happened to the self-produced CD? Don't try to sell it to me just because it didn't sell well. It's annoying.
I don't have it anymore. I sold it off early. At the time when Catherine had proposed a divorce, our band had been involved in self-producing a CD. I remember fondly the time when Catherine, who was cute back then, had put illustrations on the lyrics card.
Did you distribute the CD at the live venue?
He asked, while laughing out loud. We didn't have sponsors, and it was self-produced, so we couldn't make a lot of them.
With that, aren't you in the red? With a low annual income. If you make a loan, you'll have to go to the other world. Don't come out as a ghost in front of me at that time.
Catherine imitated a ghost's gestures. She was honestly quite beautiful for her age, and she looked younger, but I couldn't help noticing her age in certain ways.
By the way, didn't you have much of an education, do you? You kept asking about what a cultural festival is like. So, you didn't go to college and just graduated from high school, right? That's why your annual income is $10,000. I kind of understand now. Education and income are proportional, except for a few geniuses, of course.
She sure had the nerve to say whatever she pleased. I didn't know she was this kind of woman. Well, the first time I saw Catherine was at a casual restaurant I happened to stop by, and it was what they call love at first sight for me. Despite being over 10 years apart in age, that didn't bother me one bit. From then on, I visited that restaurant every day. After several visits, I gradually became able to talk to Catherine, and I eventually invited her to a movie on a weekend. After that, we had a fancy lunch, went for tea at Starbucks, and after a few dates, I confessed my feelings. Later on, I proposed, and I married Catherine. It was a remarkable achievement for me, the first since the time I had filled up the large venue with my band. What was so appealing about her, you ask? Well, she was petite and cute. Her loose-fitting attire at the bar was also enticing, and she had long, beautiful black hair. But most importantly, she had a radiant smile and was undeniably beautiful. To be honest, I never had trouble with women until my 30s. Being in a band made me quite popular, and I had my way with women. But despite all the attention I received, the one I really wanted to win over was Catherine. Now, the Catherine in front of me has brown hair just like the guy next to her. Come to think of it, I remembered something. There was a day when Catherine suddenly cut her hair and came back with brown hair. The next day, she left a divorce notice and her key on the table. I didn't understand the reason, but Catherine had changed gradually from the time we first met. When she left, I was down for several days, the first time since my band had disbanded. Since then, it took me quite a while to forget about Catherine. Why did she appear in front of me now? And with a man by her side? Did she leave because of money? She's been saying my annual income is $10,000 since earlier, but I didn't get it. I've been hearing it from earlier. My annual income is $10,000, right? Where did you come up with that figure?
I saw your pay slip. It was around $870. So, I thought your annual income is around $10,000.
I understand now. Catherine must think my only source of income is the part-time job at my brother's burger shop. There's no way that's true. With that meager salary, we couldn't afford to live in the apartment we used to have.
How much was the rent for that apartment?
It was $10,000. So, you're saying my annual income disappears in just 1 month's rent?
No way. The monthly rent for that apartment was $10,000.
Well, that's amazing.
Remember, there was a concierge at the entrance. They even helped us get theater tickets once. There was a pool, and I remember going shopping for swimsuits just for that. Plus, I used to go to the gym. Do you remember? Even though you always quit after a few days, you went shopping for workout gear back then, and when you were in a bad mood, you would always go to the sauna room for some relaxation, claiming it made you feel better. It seemed like Catherine was reminiscing about our life together. And I, while we were trying on clothes in the store, remembered her habit of asking for my opinion every time she tried something on. At first, I would give my input, but as time went on, I got tired of it and started giving vague responses while looking at my phone. She used to get angry and say, "Pay attention," and even her angry face was cute. I recalled how difficult it was to get her back in a good mood after those moments. I hate to bring this up, but if you are living with him, does he have all these things?
Come to think of it, we don't have anything like that. Well, if there's anything, it's an exercise ball in the room. It's a small apartment, so it's quite annoying.
Catherine said without thinking, glancing at him. He looked apologetic.
By the way, is what he's saying true? Where were you guys living?
Catherine pointed to the taller building while looking back.
You know, the penthouse in that building over there. It was a hassle entering the building, and the elevator took forever to arrive, so it always irritated me. But the good thing was that when I ordered stuff online, they could hold it downstairs, and I didn't have to worry about redelivery. That was convenient.
That building is a luxury apartment where celebrities live, right? Then, there's no way his annual income is $10,000.
I used to see celebrities in that apartment. Wasn't New York like that?
Have you ever met a celebrity in my apartment?
I have. He lives on the first floor. I forgot his names, though.
That guy was an unknown comedian who hadn't made it big. He was kicked out recently for not paying rent.
By the way, Chester, were you rich? I mean, I knew where we lived was impressive, but why did you have a delinquent-style car? And despite being in the passenger seat, it was on the driver's side, and to top it off, I kept opening the door upwards every time, and well, it's not bad to get attention, but having your picture taken all the time was quite invasive of my privacy. It really was rather rude.
That's a supercar, isn't it?
That's right. But now I'm calmed down.
Could it be that you can't afford those noisy, flashy cars with an annual income of $10,000?
It's not that I can afford it. That was a limited edition, and I had a friend help me get it. It cost around $2 million, if I recall correctly. It was cheaper than I expected.
Wait, $2 million for that car? Are you kidding me?
But there were only 3 of them in America, and it was a hassle. Thanks to that, when I traded it in for the next car, I got some money back. I couldn't even fit my musical instruments in it. Getting in and out was indeed inconvenient. Also, I was always nervous about driving it, especially when dealing with bumps or going into grocery stores.
What does this guy do to earn money? Is he doing something shady?
I don't know anything about it. He's just doing part-time work at his brother's burger shop and clicking away on the computer at home.
I already told you, back when we were dating, but you never believed me.
I don't remember it all. Can you make money with an old man band?
Catherine's voice became a somewhat sweet purring voice, and without realizing it, she had already released her arm from her guy. Well, I used to be in a band that had a debut, and I wanted to play again after a while. It's more like a hobby for me, but surprisingly, it was well received. We're going to make our major debut soon, but it still doesn't bring in much money. My main job is what you mentioned, Catherine, clicking away on the laptop. I mentioned a few well-known female groups. I create songs and provide them. I make music on my computer.
Seriously, was I unknowingly contributing to your ex-husband? I bought 10 CDs by that group the other day, just because I wanted to get their autographs.
So that's why you were broke back then. I had no idea.
Catherine and the man started bickering.
Oh, now that you mention it, I heard about it. You said you create songs and provide them to pop idols. But at that time, you said it didn't pay much.
At that time, I was just starting out. Now, I'm working on most of the albums. You can check it by searching on your phone. Most of the songs are credited to CD. That's me, Chester.
Oh yeah, most of them are credited to CT. That's amazing. By the way, what kind of band were you in back then?
The man leaned forward eagerly. Apparently, he used to play the drums in a school band during his student days. He claimed to have checked out all the bands he had heard of at the time. We were called Looks, but with the band boom during that era, I doubt you've heard of us.
What? Your band's drummer was the best. I have all their CDs, and I even perform your songs at a cultural festival. Can I get your autograph?
I'm not him though, but I couldn't help reminiscing about the old days when he said that.
You lived with an amazing guy. I'm jealous. I'd love to go to an old man band's concert next time.
The man's excitement was at its peak.
I don't know about that band. Did they become really popular?
Catherine had never heard of the band. It seemed she considered it to be just one of those bands that only a few people in that scene knew about. Search it up. Our songs were used in car commercials, movies, and TV shows. We even appeared on the year-end music show. Indeed, our songs have been used in commercials, movies, and TV shows. Catherine should have heard them somewhere, but she probably didn't care about the song titles or the band name. As much as Catherine seemed reluctant, she started searching on her phone when urged.
Now that you mention it, I did see that movie, Former Boyfriend, and that TV show too. I liked the theme song, and a girl I liked in high school sang it for me. Did you play in it for real?
I peeked at her phone. I created that song. Next, Catherine checked the visuals of the band.
Are you the guy on the far left? You're really handsome. Amazing. Although you lose to the one in the middle.
That's right. They were probably the most successful among lots of bands at that time.
I felt surprisingly good hearing that.
Are you kidding me? Because you didn't seem rich at all.
I only cared about where to live and my car. In exchange, I didn't make things difficult for you, and I spent money on the places you wanted to go and the things you wanted to eat. At that moment, Catherine looked at me mischievously.
Of course, you were the guy I chose after all. You have to have some decent accomplishments and character.
With that, Catherine linked her arm with mine.
That's why. I think there's a good person waiting for you somewhere, Rob. I believe meeting like this is fate, right, Chester? Everything around you will be taken care of by me because I'm here with you, just like it was back then.
What do you mean, Catherine?
You're being noisy. Do you think you have something better than Chester? If anything, it might be creating new debts. Even though I've finally paid off everything, I'm fed up with it.
The man remained downcast. I released myself from her arm, which she had linked with mine. What's the point now? I'm sorry, but I decline. I'm returning her to you, man.
No, Catherine has chosen you now, so she belongs to you. Thank you for everything, and I'm sorry.
Stop it. I only have one body, so we need to decide who gets me. Being beautiful is such a burden.
No, we're not competing for you. If anything, we're just rubbing it in each other's faces.
Catherine, do you even know what you're saying? Perhaps you're too full of yourself.
Who are you to judge? Can someone like you, with a low level of education, comprehend what I'm saying?
I may have only completed high school, but I don't think I'm uneducated.
The man seemed to want to say something like, "What about you?" as he looked at me. I went to college as part of a promise with my parents when I started the band. But
What? Jester, you went to college, but you said you didn't know about the cultural festival, right? Weren't you supposed to have only finished high school?
that's rough. When I was in high school, our band had already secured a debut, so there was no time for school. I was busy commuting between school, concert venues, TV stations, and recording studios every day. I barely had enough attendance, and I never participated in the cultural festival or sports festival. I remember we had to cancel our school trip because of a recording session. My high school days were quite sad. Of course, I couldn't participate in club activities either, and I only made a few friends.
Right? It's important to finish college nowadays. Your parents must be wonderful. Got it? You need to disappear from my sight and go somewhere far away. Chester and I are going to soar through the world with music.
Please fly away only by yourself.
At that time, you will go with me.
Why bring this up now? You left me because you thought I only made $10,000 a year, right? You'll come back to me as soon as you find out I have money. Isn't that a bit opportunistic?
Don't be so mean. We just didn't know each other well enough back then. I admit that an annual income of $10,000 does make me think about the future. But it's your fault because you didn't tell me about it. I won't blame you though. After all, we're going to work together from now on. It's not uncommon for divorced couples to remarry. Even celebrities have done that recently, you know?
Catherine looked at me with that adorable smile she used to have. As I reached out to grab her extended hand, a familiar car horn blared.
Sorry for being late. The weekend nightlife can cause traffic jams. Even this late at night, with 3 lanes and all. Hop in quickly. All right. I can't park here for long. By the way, is that a pickup? Who's the girl? She's dressed like a young woman. But she's not that different from me, is she?
I had been drinking, and I had contacted her to pick me up. I quickly got into the car.
Who's that woman? Were you cheating on me since we were together?
I had been silent until now, but I couldn't keep my word. That's my line. I knew you were with that guy a year after we got married. He was young and had a thing for gambling. I believed you'd come back to me soon because you were just fooling around with a younger man. But you left. I'm done with you. If you were just blinded by a younger man, it would have been one thing. But I found out you were also blinded by money. Breaking up was the right decision.
What? I'm younger than that old lady. And I understand you better than she does. Don't let that woman deceive you, Chester. You should realize my worth soon.
Can you give me a ride? Catherine continued talking, but I ignored her and closed the door. She seemed to be rattling the door handle and even kicked the door. If you're feeling unwell, I apologize.
Is that your ex-wife? She's chasing after us.
When I looked back, Catherine was running down the middle of the road, chasing after us. After that incident, Catherine learned that the man had a massive debt. Catherine had to work day and night to make ends meet, but it seemed that her debt had finally been paid off recently. After a few years, she went out to eat and had some alcohol after a long time. That's when she bumped into me, who she saw is beneath her, and started provoking me. It seemed like Catherine was struggling just to get by in life. During that time, she had called me several times, but I had blocked her calls. Catherine had returned to the man she had left, but it seemed that he had not accepted her. At the live performance of the middle-aged band, Catherine's ex-boyfriend, who had come to see the show, approached me in the excitement after the performance. I didn't really want to know, but I was a little curious. After that, I didn't hear anything more from Catherine. Back in those days, right after Catherine left the house, there was a change in my assigned manager. My previous manager was replaced by a tall, long-haired, slender beauty named Marie. While we had exchanged audio files for the work I had done before, she insisted on face-to-face meetings for the handover. She arrived an hour before the scheduled meeting and was waiting for me in the living room of my house. I asked her to watch TV while waiting, but after a while, I heard the sound of a vacuum cleaner in the living room. When I went to see what was going on, she had started cleaning.
I'm sorry. Did I disturb you with the noise? I apologize.
No need to apologize. Thank you. Take your time.
Is it okay if I continue like this?
Do as you please. It was like this every time. So, I started to wonder, what would Marie do if I cleaned everything perfectly before she arrived? With that thought in mind, one day, I cleaned the room and waited for her. I was expecting to see what she would do, but there was no sound coming from the living room. Did she start working on her device as usual? Thinking that, I concentrated on the remaining tasks. However, after a while, a good smell wafted into the room, so I stopped and headed to the living room.
I'm sorry. The food was about to expire, so I made it. Please eat it later. Maybe cooking for yourself once in a while is a good idea too.
At that moment, I fell for the domestic Marie. Or rather, she had captured my stomach completely. I confessed my feelings once again. And now, Marie is living with me. The middle-aged band, which was originally started by old guys reminiscing about the past, is doing well, appearing on TV and being featured in magazines. We maintained our activities just as we were. It all started as a music venture initiated by middle-aged guys who wanted to reminisce about the past. We didn't want it to affect our main jobs. That's why we only had one live performance a month, making us a band that was hard to get tickets for and gaining popularity mainly through social media. I continued providing songs and even had a few million sellers. On the back of this success, the producer told me that their plan to form a few new groups was in progress, and I spent every day working on my computer until late at night. I also continued my part-time job at my brother's burger shop, and every day was both enjoyable and busy. One day, I was relaxing at home on my day off after a long while.
I'm back. I worked up a good sweat. It feels great.
Marie, who had returned from the gym, sat down next to me. We have plenty of space, so you don't have to sit over here. I moved to a newly built apartment from the one where I had lived with Catherine until a year ago. I wanted everything to be new, although the rent had gone up.
Don't be mean. It's already been decided that my seat is next to you. Hey, I feel like breaking a sweat with you again, Chester.
She said that and rested her head on my arm, peering at me.
Oops.
I picked Marie up. I can see the apartment building where I used to live until a year ago. Don't you think you've put on a little weight?
Not at all. If anything, it's a happy weight.
Saying that, Marie wrapped her arms around my neck and our lips met.
I'll make you forget about living in that old apartment.